So, what do we do now when you get a property? We talked about some of the potential things that could happen, such as it could be occupied. That has happened to me several times. And the funny thing is, the people that taught me how to invest in tax liens, they were multifamily apartment complex investors. They didn't know very much about tax liens. They kind of thought it was a joke, and they kind of just humored me because I was real young. I didn't have any money, and it's a cheap way to invest in real estate. So they kind of guided me in the right direction, but they didn't know what they were guiding me towards. I am quite certain they didn't think that I was ever going to get a property, but I did. I did get a property, and I remember very clearly the very first time that I had applied for a deed on a property and it was coming down to the wire. I called them up and I said, "Hey, I am going to get this property. I drove past it a couple times and there's still a family living in there. What do I do?" And it was like deer in the headlights. They had no idea what to do. They'd never encountered that. I'm pretty sure that I'm the first person they ever saw that actually got a property. So I had to kind of wing it on my own. And I just want you to be prepared. That very well could be a situation you run into. Um, if you do, there's a couple ways to approach it. So if you come across a property, you get the deed to a property that is occupied. It's going to be occupied by one of two people. It's going to be the owner of the home or their family member or somebody associated with the home, or it's going to be an abandoned house that is occupied by squatters. And a squatter is just a homeless person who has taken up residence in an abandoned home. Now, the thing with squatters is if they're there long enough, you actually have to evict them. You can't just legally go over there and grab them and throw them out. That is a big no no. You have to actually legally evict them through the courts, even though they don't own the home or anything like that. So, what I advise people to do if you get into a situation like that. Now, I am a landlord. I handle my own evictions. I don't hire attorneys. I do it all myself. I go to court. I file all my own paperwork, except in this situation. If it comes down to me having to evict somebody on a tax lien default house, I 100% of the time will pay the attorney his $350 and let him evict them because I don't want to talk to these people. I don't want to see these people. I don't want them to see me. Think about it. You are taking somebody's home. They're probably not going to be happy about that. So I don't want them coming back at me. So to keep it safe, I usually will hire an attorney to do that for me. And yes, it costs a little bit on the grand scheme of things, though it's not that big of a deal. Now, there is another option. What I have done before is if there's a family in there or a person who used to own the home, you can do something called cash for keys. And it's not a great option, but it is an option. Basically, what you're going to do is you're going to send them a letter or you'll go talk to them. I recommend a letter because you don't know these people. You're going to send them a letter saying you've acquired their property through a tax lien default. You've got the deed to it now. And you want to make sure that they are well taken care of when they move out. Tell them that you could blame it on your partner. You could blame it on somebody else. Make up some bad guy that took the property from them or something. You don't want to be the guy that took their property, though. But long story short, what I've done in the past is I have offered them cash to help them relocate. I've even helped them find a home. And in one scenario, one time, I paid for U-Haul trucks and everything, and I helped load up all their stuff and get them into their new place. And they were pretty cool with it. I gave them some money. They were able to get a new apartment, cover their first month's rent and deposit, and I paid and had all their stuff moved and helped them move it. So it really just depends on who's in the house. Now, if you get a house that is full of like 20 gang members, do not go over there. Don't approach them. Call an attorney, have the attorney evict them, and let it be what it is. Usually once they're out, they're not going to come back to the house. At least in my situation, they haven't. Um, but if it's somebody that is like a family or something, I try to work with them as best I can. You don't want to, it's an awful situation for them. And it comes with the territory. If you're not able to handle that, I suggest you should not invest in this type of real estate because it comes with the territory. You might get a house that has a family with children, an elderly person that can't afford to pay their taxes, or someone whose spouse died and they're going through a rough time. So, yeah, it does come with the territory. Now, it's not really common. I would say maybe 3 out of 10 are occupied, and usually it's occupied by a squatter, and that could become problematic um, because it can be difficult to get them out. So, in both situations, though, what I try to do is I try to take the path of least resistance and just make sure everyone is out safely. They have a place to go, and everyone's aware of what's going on. So that's the best approach. Like I said, cash for keys is an option, but more times than not, you want to just use an attorney, pay them the fee, let them get them out. If they don't get out after the eviction, depending on where you're at, where I'm at, they have like 48 hours, or the sheriff will go over there. Now, the sheriff is not going to grab their things and move it. The sheriff will watch you move it, but they kind of just keep the peace. That's a common misconception. Not in every in It's not in every county that the sheriff will actually touch their belongings and put them out. They don't do that, at least where I'm at. So, just some things to be aware of in case you do acquire a property that is occupied. Be sure that you have a plan for that. And you want to know that before you get the property. You don't want to get the deed to a house all of a sudden and then show up and there's people living in there. Make sure you have a game plan and you know what's going on a couple months before you're going to get the property, because you know more or less if you're going to get it.